guys, dollypl here. This is the first video of me trying to survive on a Minecraft flat world, but if I die I have to delete the whole world. This is days 1 to 15 of the series. This is 5 hours of footage edited down to however long this video is. All I got was a bonus chest that has a few extra things like a cauldron, lava, blaze rods and some other things. I haven't cheated either, so everything you see here is real. I hope you enjoy the video. Just so you guys know, I used an add-on so that the days would be counted accurately. Alright, this is going to be the world that I'm in until I die. You might have seen that I already have some XP, and that is because of the creepers I had to kill before I started. So I'm going to waste no time and gather up these torches, and then we'll see what we have in our bonus chest. Oh, so we got a few things in there. We got lava, blaze rods and a cauldron too. That'll be good. So on my first night I planted all of the saplings, and then I went around building a bit of a trench so I could try and trap any mobs that came. I continued doing this all night until the morning of day 2, and I decided to make it 2 blocks deep as well, so that no monsters or mobs could escape. Of course, because it was night there were zombies around, and quickly I turned around to notice I had one in my trench. I tried fighting it a bit. After a bit, I tried to trap the zombie in my trench, but I forgot that I wasn't quite done it yet. It hit me a bit and I was going low on health, so I got scared for a bit. I thought I had lost the zombie, so I went back to building my trench, but then it came again. So I knocked it back in my trench, but I still hadn't finished my trench. So I cornered it and tried to kill it. It hit me a few times and I took a bit of damage, but quickly I was able to kill the zombie and continue building my trench to trap any other monsters. I continued to walk around my trench to make sure everything was okay and that there were no holes anywhere. Then I broke a block so I could get up to the middle section, and I placed my torches around to try and keep the mobs away for a bit. Then I went back into my trench to try and widen it. This would give me more space to keep animals and mobs. Not long after this I turned around to find that there was another zombie. And there was a skeleton too. So I quickly tried to get to the top so I could fight them both away before building up, so hopefully the skeleton would miss. I waited there until the morning of day 2. Luckily I didn't have to wait long until the morning of day 2, and the zombie soon died. After the zombie died, I continued to break the dirt and head down to the bottom. Then once I was on the floor again, I noticed that my first tree had grown. For the morning of day 2, I went around and continued to widen my trench. I also made a crafting table and placed my cauldron down to collect the rainwater. After a bit, I used my crafting table to make my first set of wooden weapons. I opened up my chest to see what food I had, and I took my salmon. I then ate it so I could regain my health. I also ate my bread too. I checked my cauldron had filled up, and then after this I went down with my axe and I started to break my first tree. But of course, because it was raining there were mobs, so I made a little secret underground base kind of thing underneath the island so that I could protect myself if there were too many skeletons around. I went around my trench to kill any zombies that were there with my new wooden sword. After this I used my wooden hoe to go around and make myself a garden bed. I planted down melon seeds as well so that they could grow. Then I planted down a carrot. It was starting to become night in day 2, so I went out to try and kill some mobs to get some things. I started off by killing a few spiders and zombies. But after a bit I went back to my island so I could craft a few new things. I started off by crafting myself a bed so that I could sleep that night. So I placed my bed down next to a torch, and I went to sleep, and that was the night of day 2. When I woke up on day 3, I noticed that there was an invisible wandering trader around. I checked to see if it had anything useful, but all it wanted was emeralds, and I didn't have any of those. So I trapped the trader in my trench. For most of day 3, I went around with my axe gathering some wood. I crafted some wood planks later so I could start making my house. I placed a few planks around so that I would have a relatively large house. After this, I went around to kill some sheep so I could get some wool. Then I went in my trench to kill any animals that had been there overnight. And with my bone meal, I grew my carrots so that I would have more carrots. I grew the rest of my vegetables too, so I knew that I would have enough food. After this, I made myself a dirt wall. I did this so that if there were any skeletons, I would have some protection from them. Soon came around the night of day 3, and on the night of day 3 I went around killing zombies and pigs mainly, so that I could get some food and hopefully some bones from skeletons. I did this for most of day 3. I went back to my trench and there was a spider which I killed. But then I saw a creeper, and I was pretty scared, and then, it blew up everywhere. Didn't have much time to waste, so I quickly got to work fixing what the creeper destroyed. After a bit, everything was back to normal, so I went to bed. When I woke up on day 4, I noticed that I had a few saplings, so I went around and planted those. Then I saw a zombie with a leather hat, so I killed the zombie, and the zombie dropped the leather hat, so I took that. Then I killed a few animals before returning back to my base. For the most of the morning of day 4, I went around killing sheep and pigs. After this, I went to my tree and I started to get some more wood to continue working on my house. I killed some cows afterwards as well. Later, I walked quite a bit away from my base in order to get lots of animals, so I could use these for the remainder of the few coming days. I killed lots of cows and a few pigs as well. This was most of day 4 gone. Later I went back to my base so I could craft a few more things, and on the night of day 4 I continued to go around my trench to kill any monsters. When I woke up it was day 5 and I went around killing any skeletons and monsters. I also used the bone from the skeleton to grow my plants and vegetables. I replanted the carrots and the melon seeds that I had got. Then I put on all of my leather armour that I had collected, and I went back to gathering wood for my house. I also extended my trench out so that it would cover my new house as well to make it bigger, and also protect me. About halfway through the day I went around to make sure that my trench was still okay. I did some finishing touches even though I wasn't exactly finished. I continued working on my trench all through the night of day 5. The morning of day 6 came soon, and when I woke up like every other morning I went around killing any mobs and animals that had got stuck in my trench overnight. I was also able to get some bones from some of the skeletons that I had killed. I continued to go around planting all my saplings. Unfortunately, the recording of the night of day 6 and morning of day 7 didn't save. But you didn't really miss anything because the only thing I did was go around and kill animals over the night. I also decided to destroy my house walls so that I could make the house bigger. Over day 7 I went around getting more wood so that I could make more wood planks in order to fully extend my house. I ended up destroying many trees but also planting way more saplings. Before I went to sleep on day 7 I went over to make a bridge between my base and my house. And then I saw an enderman so I tried to kill it, but unfortunately my health went low, so I quickly went back to my base. I was certain I was going to die, and it didn't really help once I saw the Enderman pick up a grass block and come over to me. I had to run for my life. I was so scared. I sprinted away from my house and my base. But after a bit, I ate some food and I went back to try and kill the Enderman. After a bit, I was able to find the Enderman, so I started hitting at it, hoping that I would kill it. And I did kill it, but the only thing it dropped was a grass block. But that's okay, because it could come in handy later. I tried to eat so I could regain my health, but it didn't really help that there was a witch standing behind me and kept throwing potions at me. So eventually I tried to kill it, but it had already thrown a few things at me. I also killed a zombie that was there too. I ate some more food so that I could get my health back, and then later throughout the night I went around killing zombies, and I found a skeleton with gold armor too. But there are a few skeletons and zombies around, so I quickly tried to fight off everything, but I nearly died because my health kept going low. I killed a few more zombies, and then it nearly became day on day 8. After a busy night on day 7, I went out and started planting all of my saplings on the morning of day 8. After doing this for a while, I went back to my base to find out that some of my melons have grown. So I harvested those and I planted some more. Then I went back to getting wood. After this, I made my doors to my new house. I placed my doors down and then I killed a wandering trader. On the night of day 8, I went out hunting again to get more loot from mobs. I ran into another witch which gave me a bit of trouble, so I went back into my hideout so I didn't die. I waited there for a while, and then I ate some more food. I regained health after a bit, so I went out for the rest of the night and tried to kill some more mobs. These 2 zombies dropped 2 pieces of iron, which is very rare and useful. I also ran into another skeleton wearing gold armor. I hoped it would drop it, so I kept on hitting at it. I ate some more pork chop and then I went outside to upgrade my armor that I had just got. Then I went to sleep at the end of day 8. On the morning of day 9, I went out with my bone meal to get some seeds. I also did a lot of farming and I was able to get some more food. I placed some more dirt down and then, after a bit, I went over it with my wooden hoe. After a bit, my garden bed was looking good, so I placed some more seeds down over it. After a bit, I went out and started to collect all of the saplings. I placed them down around my house so that they would grow. With some of the wood I got, I turned it into planks and I started going around with my house. I got all of the dirt out with some shovels that I had made, so I could place the wood planks on the floor of my new house. By the time it was night, I was still doing this, and I continued to do this for a little bit longer. Since I had been inside focusing on my house for a bit, there had been lots of zombies and other mobs get into my trench. So I tried to fight them off. First I killed the spider, and then I killed the zombies, and I tried to get their weapons and armor if they would drop it too. But I had to run away because there were so many, so I tried to separate them by running around my trench. Then I got back up to the top so I could try and kill them from above. I quickly ate some food, and then I tried to kill them one by one. A couple died, and they didn't really drop anything. And then there was only a couple left. I gathered what they dropped, and one of them ended up dropping a bit of armor. Then I went to sleep. On the morning of day 10, I continued working on my house. I went around with a shovel and I tried to get all of the grass and the dirt. I did this for a while until all of it was gone. There were a couple left, so I gathered those. After this, I decided to be a bit experimental with my crafting, and I decided to make a monster trap. So I went out and placed trapdoors around to try and trap any mobs or any animals that I could use for food. Later I can check this in the morning to see if it works. I hadn't checked my trench for a few days, so after this I went back into my trench to try and kill any mobs that were there. And after this I went back into my house. I placed half slabs down everywhere around the outside. On the morning of day 11 I get up to see a zombie in my trench. Then I use a trapdoor to get up to the middle. Then I see my melons grown, so I break it. Then I use bone meal to grow my pumpkin seeds. Then I'm back at placing half slabs for the rest of day 11. And I do this until night. Then I place half slabs all around the edges, a bit on the doorway and also a few on the top. I continue to do this until most of the night, then I go to bed. Day 12 started good. Well, another creeper attack, so I fixed that up. And then I jumped over to my island and planted more vegetables. And I got a pumpkin. For the rest of the day I planted pumpkin seeds, and at night, yep, another creeper explosion. So I fixed that up, and then after this I went to bed. And that was the end of day 12. When I woke up on day 13, yep, another 2 creeper explosions. So that was a bit annoying, but then I went around killing animals for most of the day. I managed to kill a few and then I returned back to my base when it was raining. I gathered all of my stuff to try and move it inside of my new house. Night of day 13 I started my storage system, so I placed chests down everywhere and then I placed my bed down. After this I decided to go outside and I saw there were a lot of monsters there. And of course there was another creeper explosion, so I fixed that up and also killed all of the zombies that were there. I decided to go back inside and to work on my storage system. I put all of my food into this chest. In this chest I put all of my weapons and also my armor. And in this chest I put all of my dirt. Then I decided to go to sleep. Morning of day 15 and I woke up and I went outside and I killed a skeleton. Then I went into my trench and I successfully was able to kill a creeper. After this I went out to kill some more animals, so I had plenty of food. I decided to make a box for my mushroom to grow in, and I made it out of dirt because I had plenty of dirt. So I built a big, large box made out of dirt, and after I was done building it I went inside and I planted my mushroom. Then I made a bit of a doorway on the outside so that I could get in. As I went back to my base I killed a few zombies on the way. And as I went to sleep on the night of day 15, that is how I survived 15 days of Minecraft on a flat world. Make sure you leave a like to see me survive 30 days.